evening, friends. Welcome to Whetstone Park, and welcome to the celebration of our friend, family member, mentor, sponsor, Ruth Friscoe. My name is Rob Maccabee, and I have the privilege of being asked to be here tonight to introduce some speakers and to bring us all together here. Jane Larson, Christine Ryan, and Leslie kind of put their heads together and came up with some ideas, and what you're about to experience is the culmination of those ideas. I want to remind you one more time that we're going to have a segment where we're going to bring in give everybody in the room a chance to speak. And because of the size of the room, we're going to draw names. So if you have something on your heart, if there's something you want to share for 2 or 3 minutes about Ruth, please put your name on a card and put it in the basket, and we'll draw some names here. Okay? All right. Well, welcome. Glad to see you all here. Before I bring up our first reader and guest, Kate Hawk, I'm just going to read a short passage from this book called The Book of Awakening by Mark Nepo. And I know in the last year, Ruth was leading a book club on Zoom. Some of you might have been there. I got in there a couple of times. Hi. Yes, sir. So I'm going to read just a little essay. This is basically a daily reflections book, and I know Ruth really loved this book, and enough to start a book club on it. So we're going to get started with that. Okay. This passage is called The Creator's Cycle. Nothing escapes the Creator's cycle. Not plants, horses, trees, birds, or human beings. Not the life of the Spirit. All living things emerge, gather, spark new life, fall apart, die, and emerge in new ways. Each soul is a gust of God's breath unfolding in the great energy that surrounds us like an ever-moving stream. The goal is not to cheat death, but to live the stream with a humility and aliveness that only an acceptance of death can release. When we try to deny death, we can grow sick from frantically chasing any challenge that will occupy our minds. In living the other extreme, we can grow sick from thinking only of death and letting death be all that we are. This makes a sad career of fear. Beyond all design and desire, we survive. Like stones that are eroded by forces that can never be seen or stopped. Our reward is the pain and wonder of bearing our inner beauty to the sky. What we carry deep within, if we live honestly, will inevitably be worn outwardly. The experience of living this fully has nothing to do with removing ourselves from the Creator's cycle. Too often we struggle stubbornly in an attempt to protect ourselves from the friction of being alive, when it is precisely that friction that works our spirit into a seeable gem. We are more malleable than we think, more durable and changeable than all hope. Thin and fragrant petals do not hide from the wind. They survive to die and break ground again. Even within one life, we shred and reroot. We break, bleed, and rearrange into another beautiful thing that learns how to teach. Resisting this doubles our pain, and singing our way through it is the source of wisdom and beauty. And in my experience, Ruth Friscoe sure sung her way through it. Amen. Let's bring up Kate Hawk. Let's welcome Kate.
Can you all hear me? Yeah. Good. Sometimes life has a way of making your own introduction before you even make an introduction. I want to point this out because I think Ruth would be proud of me, that when I look down at my feet, I have taken 2 different shoes. shoe. So, I not only welcome all of you to this gathering, I need you. Because Ruth was the embodiment of it takes a village. There is no such thing as a lone eulogy of Ruth Friscoe. Ruth is a composite sketch drawn by all of us here, and everyone she ever met. And we are here to celebrate not only what she did, but who she was for each of us. We're here to voice as best we can what she embodied for us. We are gathered here feeling our own mixtures of deep grief mixed with even deeper gratitude. There's some combination, I suspect, going on in all of us since we're playing musical numbers of "You picked a fine time to leave me, Lucille," and the Hallelujah chorus. We can scarcely imagine how much we're going to miss her physical appearance that we loved so much in the days ahead, while at the same time we know how impoverished our lives would be without having known her. May I see a raise of hands for those of us who wanted more time with her. And at the same time, we know how in awe we are of how full and perfect the timing of Ruth's life was, all the way up to her very last breath. She was savoring her life. She was doing what she loved in the company of friends and the magnificent music of Von Weister and his jazz orchestra. So those of us, all of us, who wanted more time with her are at the same time rather in awe of how perfect the timing of everything she did was. Remember, she used to say, how you do anything is how you do everything. So it's right here at this point that a 13th century Sufi poet, Rumi, offers us a little good counsel. He says, don't grieve, anything you lose comes round in another form. The child weaned from mother's milk now drinks wine and honey mixed. God's joy, the divine beloved's joy, moves from unmarked box to unmarked box, from cell to cell, as rainwater down into flower bed, and as roses up from the ground. Now it looks like a plate of rice and fish. Now a cliff covered with vines. Now a horse being saddled. It hides within these until one day it cracks them open. The spirit of Ruth that we all celebrate hides within each one of us. We gather with hearts that have already been cracked open. And so we're here to comfort each other and to remember Ruth with a wide variety of vibrant forms. Each one of them is a living vignette of how we experienced her. And it's a collaborative effort, a creative work of art in progress. No such thing as a lone eulogy. Each of us is here to add our stitch as she used to say, to offer our own Ruthisms and our treasured memories long after we leave this place. Ruth would like that, I think, this messy, sacred, collaborative effort. She often said to me, just watch how the group handles it, whatever the group of people happen to be handling at the time. She believed in the potential people had to be wounded healers to themselves and to one another. She used to say, we can all hear it, God's got it, God's got you, God's got them. And right now, we are here. You know those signs you see at the beginning of the hike, you are here? We are here right now to be that living recreation of this collective love that we all share. We'll be telling Ruth stories long after these doors close. And when I think of Ruth, I think she was the Johnny Appleseed of community. She planted seeds of community wherever she went, and that community continues. We are it. Mother Teresa said, we've forgotten that we belong to each other. Oh, Ruth never forgot that. To know Ruth was to feel like you belonged to one another in a way that made healing, recovery, and freedom possible. Like you were linked at some deep level that was also healthy. So it was Ruth who often liked to say that boundaries are the distance created where I can love myself and you simultaneously. What a concept. She leaves us a legacy of what it means to belong to one another in ways that foster our common welfare. To know Ruth was to be keenly aware, without a shadow of a doubt, of her exuberance for life itself. And it was contagious. How many of you remember when somebody would share something? You didn't even have to hear what it was she was sharing. But Ruth would be sitting across the room, perched on the edge of her chair, listening. And then when the person finished sharing whatever it was, you'd hear, "Oh." So you see, there's our benediction right here before this thing is ended. We don't have to wait for it. Ruth's awe made us feel that no matter how schlocky we thought our lives were, that there was something in them that she could see that was worthy of an awe. Wow, that's great, black belt. You got this. You're doing it. Even if you couldn't see it, Ruth could. And she made you want to stick around a little longer in your own life's unfolding and not miss the miracle of that awe until you could say it about your own life. Ruth could see it because she embodied that sacred awe for her life. Only Ruth could make a community building adventure out of getting a hip replacement. So getting back to Rumi's poem, all of us here are these colorful, varied, musical expressions of what it was like to have actually experienced through Ruth what it was like to relate to someone in a way that was truly and mutually authentic, real. Harmonica conventions, doing things messy, riding roller coasters, Saturday Night Fever, the trailer of light, as rainwater into flower bed. Our hearts are storehouses of Ruth that blossom open wide each time we, like her, are fully present to the miracle of our own lives and to the miracle of one another. Not just tonight, but for the rest of our lives. As the Wicked Witch of the West said, our little party's just beginning. So buckle up and prepare to be amazed and delighted.
Thank you, Kate. Okay, for this next segment, we're going to bring a couple spotlighted speakers, a couple people that knew Ruth in some various facets of her life, and very eclectic, adventurous life. Like Kate said, everything from the music to the dance school, to the harmonica, to the writing the jazz charts, to the solo travel. Yeah, I remember when she told me she was going to Thailand by herself, and she had accommodations booked for the first night, and then after that, excuse me. Thank you. So we're going to bring up a few speakers, quick speakers, to talk about their experience at Ruth in a couple of those different capacities. And our first speaker is going to be Jane Larson. Welcome, Jane.
When I think of my friend, my sponsor, my mentor, my teacher, I think joy. She brought joy to my life. She brought joy to everyone's life. Someone's waiting, they can't hear me.
Let's get closer to the mic.
Get closer to the mic.
Thank you.
Okay. Not much of a speaker. Anyway, she was my friend. She called me her friend. She was my sponsor in several programs. She was my teacher. And when I needed to learn something, she appeared. I can't tell you how many times I needed to learn something. I didn't realize how dumb I was. Ruth was my mentor. She was so smart. She always knew the answer to questions. She went to school, but she just didn't go to school. She took in life as a school. She learned everything she could possibly learn, and then she shared it with us. So when I think of Ruth, I think of joy. That's the word that comes to mind. She had it, she shared it, and she taught it. This moment comes to mind when I remember Ruth, because it was always this moment. This very moment was what we were experiencing. You know, that's kind of I understand a Buddha belief, Buddhism. And there's a Buddhist monk in the crowd. I hope he'll come up and speak at some point. He's wiping his brow right now. But you know, it's always now, right this minute, right this second. And as we move on to these series of nows, we end with a beautiful joy. A beautiful joy. That was Ruth. I loved you so. And I always will. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Please welcome up Tracy Brown.
Hi everyone. What a testament to my movie. I'm so glad that you guys are all here. Today, I went through some of my texts, but I met Ruth over 20 years ago. I went to the Friday upstairs meeting at Grandview, Cambridge and Fifth. Yes, it was a good meeting. And when I'd see her, every time she'd always be at the door, and she had beautiful red lipstick, and I would just cringe because I knew she was going to come up and hug me. And I had so much self-loathing, and I couldn't believe she would tell me I was beautiful, and I didn't believe it. And today I can stand here and be in my body and believe it. I mean, I believe that she loved me into the way I am now. So I looked at some of my texts, and I want to read some of them to you. And this is so good. I came to realize that being held is more important than being understood. Being held is being seen and heard in a way that affirmed my very existence. Much like the way the sun affirms a flower into blooming. You don't need to do better, sweetheart. This velveteen rabbit has become real. We, be and are always in touch. The most invisible creators I know are those artists whose medium is life itself. The one who expresses the inexpressible without brush, hammer, clay, or guitar. They neither paint nor sculpt. Their medium is their being. Whatever their presence touches has increased life. They don't have to draw. They are artists of being alive. She sent that on March 17th. Stay close to you-know-who. It starts with an H and ends with a P. And this, she sent me when I was going through a really hard time, her favorite Hindu prayer. And I'll end with this. Okay. Before I read this, I just want to say that not only did she teach me about myself, but she taught me about my higher power and about how to live. I didn't know. Anyway, you are my real mother. You are my real father. You are my eternal friend and brother. You are my teacher. You are my provider. You are my everything. My beloved, truest, deepest love times 100 trillion. That was her addition. Thank you.
Tracy Brown. Okay, we just got a couple more, and then we're going to hear from a couple family members. Our next speaker, we all know that Ruth was not just a lover of music, but a maker of music, a writer of music, student of music. And most of you probably know that on her last night, she was going out to hear some music. And the place she was going was Von Weister's famous jazz orchestra. And I'd like to bring up to the mic my friend, my mentor, and great pal of Ruth's, Von Weister. Come on, Von.
I guess you did kind of hint that you might do this. I have to say I'm not totally prepared, but I can say a couple things. I think it's clear that everybody in this room felt that Ruth belonged to us personally. I know she was mine. Okay? You know she was yours. Okay? On the other hand, if we were here celebrating someone else and Ruth was among us, she'd be saying the same thing about everybody in the room. Am I making any sense? Yeah. She would say the same thing about every single person in this room. Okay? For what she got from each of us. Okay? You know, I know some other people too that I think are kind of hollering, kind of sweet, kind of giving, kind of got some stuff going on. Okay, just a couple of quick stories. I'm still a bit of a record collector, but I'm not as compulsive as I used to be. I was pretty deep into it. And one time, a friend of mine alerted me to a Brazilian LP that had appeared online for bid, and the opening bid, they were asking for $550. This record was in Brazil. It was a Brazilian record. One of my favorite artists. I was alerted to this artist by local jazz hero Stan Smith, who kind of made it possible for Brazilian music to come to Columbus about 30 years ago. So Moacir Santos, this record called Coisas, you know, and I heard a tape, but I really lusted after having a vinyl copy of it, you know, and $550, oh my, you know, and I told the guy, well, bid 500, no soap. They said nothing doing, 550. And so a few days later, I'm with Ruth and I'm moaning and groaning to her. And she looks at me and she opens up her checkbook and she writes a check for $300 and she hands it to me. She says, "You will buy that record." I bought that record. You know, she said, "You will not buy that record." Okay, now, there was something else I was going to tell you. You can't think of it. So I'm just going to wipe out up here. Just, you know, it's certainly a privilege and a pleasure to participate in this and to celebrate Ruth. What a great lady. She was just so fabulous, and everybody here knows it. All you can do is keep saying it. I like the way you said it. That was, you tore it up. Thanks for the chance. Thank you. Sorry, I had a little lapse there. I do want to say that when Ruth stepped into the Woman's Club on that fateful evening, we were in the middle of our second tune. And that tune was Duke Ellington's Take the A Train. And by the time we were finished with it, she was gone. She went out on the A train. The following day, I received an awful lot of texts.
What took you so long? Ruth was my teacher and my pupil. Our Narcotics Anonymous text states that, quote, sponsorship is a two-way street, end of quote. Nowhere was this more true than with Ruth and me. In the over 42 years of our relationship, she walked me through the deaths of my mother, my father, my sister, and my brother. She walked me through 3 marriages. Hers has not been an easy assignment with me, but a holy assignment, a divine appointment. Of that I am certain. Our shared interests took us to jazz concerts, yearly ballet season tickets, plays, myriad Ohio State fairs and trips to the zoo, and thousands of meetings. She was a member of my family on holidays and birthdays for decades, and of my recovery family for cookouts, campouts, dances, and recovery celebrations. Through no manipulation of my own, her celebration of life this evening has fallen upon my birthday. Probably not my last gift from Ruth. And now, if Ruth were here, for Ruth and for Leslie, I want you to snap your fingers. God danced the day you were born. The angels did the bump to Gabriel's horn. God danced the day you were born. So grateful for the gift of you. Everybody. I saw God do the funky chicken. Still kicking in blue suede shoes. I saw God do the boogaloo, two-faced with the gift of you. I have heard some folks say that long ago God could not dance to save her soul, but people I've seen her shake that jelly roll just thinking about the gift of you. God danced the day you were born. The angels did the bump to Gabriel's horn. God danced the day you were born. So grateful for the gift of you.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Leslie. How we doing? You all right? Hanging in there, okay. Well, the next friend we're going to bring up here is Christopher Apple. He's got a poem for us, and Christopher, I'm sorry you have to follow that. But come on up to the music stand, which, by the way, when Jane and Christine and Kate and the little, when they put this together and asked us to help out with the AD stuff, I was delighted to do it because this is Ruth's stuff. When she was moving out of her house on Grandview and I was helping her move, this is some of the stuff she unloaded on me, which I use all the time. So you'll see little pink nail polish on a couple spots here with her. This is on it. So thanks for the gear, Ruth. And please welcome Christopher.
Hey, everybody. Wow, I was feeling a little nervous, and then I heard Ruth's voice say, "Get up there! Let's do your thing!" Okay? Yeah, so now we all have like a sassy, like spiritual aunt for the rest of our lives. Like sitting on our shoulder, and you better do it, Bessie! So, yeah, when I had heard that Ruth passed, yeah, I don't know, like, there's no thing to think when you're experiencing shock and grief. So, I like what somebody said about, like, we all have a little Ruth within us. And after she passed, I wrote a little poem, and this is the little bit of Ruth in it. From the book of Ruth. Page turn, yearn. We remember rising tides of touch, much like Mother Grace. A place of poise, noise of nod. You remember the nod, right? Just look across the room and you could validate your entire existence by looking at what's nodding or not. So that was my barometer of my spiritual conditions. Whether or not Ruth was nodding. Like Mother Grace, a place of poise, noise of nod. Affirming quiet smile, screaming serenity. Entity as equal, next sequel, soul, flower, bloom. Touch us kindly, fragrantly, gently, fiercely as you do, disco queen of hearts and holy hellos and highs, surprise, we rise respectfully, silently rejoicing, jubilee. Joyous, free, happy your home as we roam in grief, leaf falling. Back to earth calling. Kind as care, winking, blinking, sparkling wonder, drops of wisdom stops. Your stories in the stars now. Constellation, conversation. Hello. Goodbye. Spectacular spectacles, oddly telescopic in their vision. Sparkling gemstone of ruby red lips and hips that dips and slides and turns around. Sound of magic dancing, romancing moment, prancing peacefully, they call it we. Hold hands now. Together, watering hope seed planted in our hearts. Having a hand to hold and let go. Sometimes shit just happens. Keep going. Having a hand to hold and let go. Know your whisper is as welcome as the breeze beyond and between us. Thank you. Twinkle now. Take a bow. Bravo. Thank you.
Christopher, everybody. Thank you, Christopher. Okay. We're going to hear from a couple of family members, even though I know we all feel like family. We're going to bring up a couple guests here. Anne, come on up. Please welcome Anne Sanford.
So I've been sipping my whole life. And by the way, she was toast for her whole life. She was one of 5 members of our family. It was an interesting group of people. My father was a doctor, worked very hard, and one way he worked hard was to play jazz through college. That's how he earned his money to go to college. My brother was also in medical school, and he worked much of his time with jazz. And so the medicine and jazz connection was there for a long time. My sister and I pursued piano. We all played, 5 of us played the piano in the family. My sister and I played the piano and we danced. And all of these things led to our final profession. We had a nice childhood. We grew up in the neighborhood. There were 12 houses on each side of the street, full of kids. And for each of us, my brother and I were 2 years apart. My sister was 3 years younger. There were kids for each layer. and we played and we played and we built tree houses, we played in the fields and in the frog ponds and all of that stuff. There were some occasions where we played all of us together in the neighborhood. It was a very active place, very friendly. Our elementary school had 1 class of each grade. We grew up for 6 years with those people, and actually throughout our lives, because even though other students came in junior high school and high school, we still had this core of people we grew up with. It was a very pleasant situation. We outgrew the house that we were living in, and my father decided it was time to move to a larger home. So as he was looking, a mob boss in Youngstown, Ohio, had been ordered out of the city by the law enforcement and politicians, and his house was on sale. Cheap. It was a big house, very big house, and we were delighted that we all had space, but it also had its disadvantages. It was big enough that each of us had a suite. We had a sitting room, a bedroom, and a bathroom for the most part. My parents had a master and a dressing room and a this and a that, etc. It was just a very large house. And although it was very nice, what happened, we had come out of this very friendly, interactive neighborhood, and there was nobody for us. So we 3 children began to isolate. It was also a period where my parents began to drink heavily. So one thing in the family was that success is rewarded. And so we became very good students. We became good musicians, dancers, you name it. And it was very, very trying, very stressful to do that. So anyway, as things declined in the relationships between people, we began to do more things to isolate. And as I said, we were good students, good dancers, good everything. And each of us eventually started to look for outside activities so that we didn't have to be at home. And we all left school right after we got out of high school, or we left the home after we all got out of high school and pursued our interests. But in that house for a while, being active, practicing a lot, and studying was regarded as successful. And we got very good at what we did. And Ruth was certainly one of those who excelled in that. We also looked to go outside of the house for inspiration and success. And one of the things that we did, my sister and I were going to a dance studio, and we were taking more lessons and more lessons and more lessons. The teacher that I had was an older woman. She had broken bones in her foot that had never set correctly, and she had a lot of pain. I became her feet for a while. She did the teaching, I did the dancing. And I did that for a number of years. I got to the point where I knew her material so well that without thinking about it, I was actually teaching the children that I was supposed to just be demonstrating for. That was a very good experience. When I graduated from high school, my sister took over the same role with the same teacher. So she had her opportunity to progress as well. We didn't realize it, but at the time that we finished school, we were all pretty competent teachers, and that helped us in our lives. She opened her dance studio here in Columbus and did that for years. I went a little different route. I went into the teaching of dance in university and college situations, and I did that for over 30 years. My parents, when we were both in school, I was just graduating. She still had a couple of years to go. That's when they found AA. And they got very, very involved, jumped in with both feet. They did everything. They were going to meetings. They were meeting people. They got involved locally, regionally, nationally, and my father finally got involved in internationally as Secretary-Treasurer of Alcoholics Anonymous for doctors. He had interactions with Bill W. and Dr. Bob during this time. They exchanged ideas and thoughts for quite a while, and it was a very productive relationship. My sister and I, after a period, finally faced the music of our situation. We were addicts by that time ourselves, and she had the opportunity to get into the program when my parents were as well. And so this was very, very strong for her. I managed just to limp along for a while. It wasn't until years later that I became involved in AA myself. And I recently celebrated my 33rd year of sobriety. A very special gift for interacting with people. She was a very effective sponsor, a very good leader in recovery community, and a very loyal friend. She saw the good in everybody and generously shared her thoughts, discoveries, interactions, etc. Although we were separated geographically, after each of us graduated from high school, we never came back to live in Youngstown and home again. But even though we were separated geographically, we interacted constantly. We always got along. We enjoyed each other. We respected each other. We laughed our legs off. Or we laughed our hearts out and we danced our legs off. She was wonderful. I loved her, and I am going to miss her terribly. We didn't see each other often, but we connected all the time. And in our interactions on the telephone and in person when we had vacations and things like that, it was everlasting, and I will miss her terribly.
Thank you, Aunt Sylvie. Glad to finally meet you in person. Ruth mentioned you 5-6 years ago now, when we were all together having lunch one day. She mentioned that she and her sister literally wrote the book on Friscoe. Is that true? Yeah. So Ruth Friscoe wrote the book on Friscoe, and after she told me that, I had a T-shirt made that said, "I wrote the book on Friscoe." She wore it a few times. Okay, so we're going to bring up Steve, Ruth's nephew. Yeah, come on up, Steve. He's not there.
Shortest man in the house. It moves, you got out. Thank you, folks. So wonderful to see everyone here tonight. most of my memories of Aunt Toots, I didn't know her as Ruth, never did. But obviously my memories of her started in childhood. She called me her fuzzy because I had spectacular curly hair. What happened? But, Anne was just talking about that wonderful house, which was such an incredible place to play as a kid. And we would get together at Christmas time and in the summertime. They had a pool. It was awesome. Beth reminded me today, Aunt Toots used to like grab me by the ankles when I was little and shake me until the change would fall out. We would like to gather Aunt Toots together in the kitchen. All of us would get around her and give her a cup of caffeine and just sit back and watch the show. Again, as Mom talked about, there was a common thread that kind of always ran through that household, and it was always music. And I remember she came to visit us in our home in New York. I was still quite young, but she came up to my room and sat on my bed, and I had a little record player there. And she was so excited. She's like, oh my goodness. She's like, play some of your music for me. I'd love to know what you're listening to. So I played it. It was Star Wars, of course. But she was so excited because I was so excited. And she told me, she's like, I'm so happy you found music and that music is part of your life. And she told me that day, she said, listen to music every day. And it's something that I've certainly taken to heart. I listen to it every day. I was jotting down some things. I was trying to think of things that maybe she would say if she was here tonight, and they're going to pale in comparison to Ruthisms and all the things that she's been saying to you folks over all your lives. And I just find it interesting that what I'm hearing from you folks tonight are things that I heard her say so many years ago when I was a little kid. But I mean, of course, listen to music every day. That's one thing she would tell me. Dance like no one is watching. Or in her case, dance as if there are people watching. Laugh at things that are funny. Laugh at things that aren't funny. Laugh at everything. Listen to music every day. Go somewhere you've never been before. Talk to strangers. Eat weird stuff. Ride roller coasters. And listen to music every day. Seek quiet time. Be in the moment, be present. Look for beauty everywhere. Meditate, reflect, breathe, and listen to music every day. Be kind to people, be kind to yourself. Last but not least, love the family, love your friends, love your family's friends, love your pets, because they're family too. And if I haven't mentioned it yet, listen to music.
Thank you, Steve. Right, we're going to bring up Liz. Liz Friscoe, come on up. Welcome, Liz.
The music that you're hearing from row 2 are coming from Ruth's great-grandsons. My name is Elizabeth Friscoe. I'm Ruth's daughter and only child. I had to write this. So I'm going to have to read it verbatim, and I apologize. I'm more of an eye contact kind of person. I can't see you anyway because my prescription is no good anymore. Through the years, Mom and I, and later my children, went on 2- and 3-day excursions. This is one of them. It pretty much sums up our relationship. Mom and I had 2-day passes for Walt Disney World. We're strolling along arm in arm. And she always carried 2 or 3 or 4 really colorful totes. I used to call her the bag lady. Anyway, we're passing an enormous women's restroom, and being the age that we are, I thought it would be a good idea that we stop just in case. So she's standing at the counter under one mirror, and I'm standing at the counter under another mirror. And the room is enormous, the acoustics are terrific. And there's probably 30 or more women and children in there. Toilets are flushing, and the hand dryers are going, dryers running. And we're still talking in the storm. And she's looking through one of her brightly colored bags, and she stops talking in the middle of a sentence and says, "Drat!" And I'm standing at the other counter, and I can see her from my mirror, and so what's the matter, Mom? She says she's talking to herself now. I just had it here. So she's looking through this bag. She pulls out bag number 2. She starts pulling stuff out. We're talking little Ziploc bags of cut up vegetables and tons of duct tape, Velcro, I'm sure you know. So as she's going through these bags, she's getting more and more irritated. She's just getting agitated now. And I'm like, did you lose something? Can I help you find something? What are you looking for? And she won't answer me, but she's going through her bags again. And she's taking things out more aggressively. And I start thinking, oh no, please don't let it be your wallet. That would be really awful. And by now, these same 30 plus people are in the bathroom, but you know, toilets aren't flushing anymore, sinks aren't running, tires aren't going. My face is in the crook of my arm, and I am laughing so hard, no sound is coming out. And I turn around, and I look, and my mother starts talking, and she turns around, and by this time, I'm guffawing. And you should have seen the expression on her face when she realized this whole drama that she had created all on her own. The two of us, my knees buckled, we are laughing so loud. We are crying. Both of us are on the floor of this Walt Disney World women's bathroom. She's hugging her legs against her chest. I'm holding my sides because they hurt from laughing. And we are just down there rolling around on the floor for who knows how long. We finally climb each other like trees and help each other simultaneously till we're standing and we're still laughing, we're wiping each other's eyes, oh my, the ridiculousness of it all, blah, 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 blah. And we look around and we have completely emptied this. So when we finally leave, there's like a multitude of people standing outside. They're waiting for us to leave. So it's safe to go in. And this was not the first time that we have cleared out a large space. But that's just the kind of relationship that we had, and I wanted to share that with you because that was me and one day, and a story you probably hadn't heard. And one of the things I wanted to share, a few months before God's grace transplanted me from the city to the country, Mom had come over. We spent a lot of time at each other's houses, just to be together. And she liked my Princess and the Pea bed. She needed a step stool to get into my bed. She loved my bed. And so when she came over, she wanted to lay down on my bed. And I laid down with her. And she rolled on her side. And threw her arm around me. So I rolled on my side and backed up and snuggled onto her, into her. And then she threw her leg over me. I wanted more. So I turned around to face her. And with our arms in, legs intertwined, as if we couldn't get close enough, I buried my face in her neck. She rested her face in my hair. And we just breathed each other in. And she has been with me since before she gave up the ghost. I told Tracy earlier, and I believe this powerhouse of spirituality that she was on this plane, where she is now. Her spirituality and power is limitless. We we will always breathe each other in. And she is always going to be with me, as she's always going to be with me. I thank you all very, very much for showing up. I'm really going to miss her physical self. The memorial service has been beautiful, and I had absolutely nothing to do with this. I want to thank everyone involved. You've done a beautiful job. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Okay. I know we're running a little bit long here. If you want to hang out, we're just going to have a couple. We promised that we'd draw a couple speakers from the basket, so we're going to do that right now. I'm going to turn this over to my lovely wife. Say hello to Erin. And we'll have a couple speakers. And take it away.
I'm loud. Hey everybody. Hi Erin. What a beautiful evening. It's been created for such a beautiful woman. Someone who has made the hugest impact on every single one of us. And what a blessing it was and is to have her part of our lives. And every single one of us has a story or a memory or something that they will always take with them. And of course, we can't all share. We would be here forever. And by the way, if you aren't already aware, there is a page on Facebook called Ruthisms that we created right after she passed because everybody was really excited to hear all of the beautiful messages that Ruth had passed on to them. And so we're having a lot of fun sharing, you know, the love and the joy and the hope and the promise of Ruth and keeping her alive in that way. So if you want to join that page, please do and tell us your stories so that she can live on forever. Okay, it's called Ruthisms. You've heard that word a lot tonight, I know it. So because we can't give them everybody, we did have those of you who were interested write your name down on a basket. So I'm going to just reach in here and pull out a name. For the sake of time, I ask that you be mindful of time until about 3 minutes. I will kind of be watching the time. I'm not going to like kick you out physically, and I might just tap you on the shoulder so that we can hear from several people and everybody can go home. Have a great night, okay? So, the first person I have here is Jody.
I thought I was going to get away. Thank you so much for sharing, Liz, and everybody. Oh my gosh, and the dance and the song. And I just feel like, you know, I thought I had her for a long time. It was only 14 years. These guys have had her for 40 years. But boy, how lucky I am to have had her in my life, you know, and that's how I really feel. It's like, I don't know how I got so blessed to know this person that like put up with my crap, smiled at me and said, darling, you can do this. You're doing it, right? I didn't know she was telling all you guys that too. You know, I'm sitting in meetings since Ruth left her body and I'm hearing all these, I'm saying, I thought that was mine, you know. But honestly, the medicine was for all of us, you know, and there are so many stories, and of course I can't take too much time, but I remember one time, this one story keeps coming to mind. Some new owners had bought this yoga studio that I taught for, and the way that the studio was changing was something that I didn't like. And I went to Ruth a lot with things I didn't like, And she was actually at my house at the time. And my house, I had taught yoga in my house on a small scale before, and it was cleared, pretty cleared. I practiced yoga in the front room. And she gets up from where she was sitting and she goes, "You don't have to teach there, darling." And I'm thinking, did you hear what I said? They're serving alcohol after yoga classes. I wanted her to climb on board with me. But she was always empowering me with what I could do and what I could choose. And sometimes I wouldn't even get it for 5 years or 3 years, 10 years, And, but thank God she said that stuff, even though it was a brick wall for a little while. I was a brick wall. Just her, example of, joy and love, like Kate was saying and other people have said, just, it made me want to be more like her. But she wanted me to be like me, She wanted me to be like me, the best I could be. And I was different than her. But boy, did I hear her voice in my head a lot, and it changed me, whether I liked it or not. And I'm still hearing her voice in my head, thank God, Because when we were at that promises meeting the week after Ruth passed, or I don't even like to say that, where she left her body, she's still around, like you said. And it was such a beautiful coming together of stories and Ruthisms and stuff that, I hadn't heard before, and a lot that I had. And it's hopefully we'll keep sharing all that stuff, as long as it's supposed to be shared. Because if there's anything I learned from her is let things happen as they do, step up and be present for that stuff, and to stop beating myself up and love myself first. And then I can love you guys better, And boy, what a tall order that is, but I got a little bit of that, through the years I've known her. And I'm going to miss her, but thank God I've got her in my head. And I'll pass.
Thank you, Doreen. All right. Don't all come around the see. 10K. I didn't plan it. All right.
That's what you call nepotism. I was just thinking, I have Ruth as long as you have. I've known her about 12 years, but she was an amazing woman. And I was thinking about the last time I saw her. Aaron and Rob had a gathering over at the house, and Ruth showed up with her famous cornbread. And she sat down at the table, and for the entire time she was there, she never moved. She didn't circulate around the room circulated around her. She was like the sun. And she was holding court. And I touched the hem of her garment. And I felt the power. She was an amazing woman, harmonica player, dancer, philosopher, philanthropist. She had a lot of P's there. But she was wonderful. And I want to tell you something I learned about Ruth. One day, it was several incarnations ago, not this kind of incarnation, but several incarnations ago, Ruth was walking down this road, and there was this young man sitting under a tree. And she walked up to him and she said, In the end, only three things matter: how much you loved, how gently you lived, and how gracefully you could let go of things not meant for you. And the Buddha said, "Thanks, Ruth, can I quote you?"
Okay, who's next? Julie R. All right.
Hi, everybody. I know we're trying to be reading this Ruth celebration of life, something I kind of saved in my phone. She was going to read it at 9. She's been helping me with my pre-planned funeral, and believe me, the two of us, I mean, I'll be dead before they'll be like, guess what, everyone, I'm dead, as far as we got with the obituary and one thing to read. But I do want to tell you, when Ruth came to stay with me when I had cataract surgery, we are having all the old lady things together. I've known Ruth for 35 years. I said, Ruth, I'm going to tell the secret. She said, when I'm dead, you can tell everybody, and not until then. So being a good AA, I called my sponsor and said, can I really tell it? He said, the covenant is ended. She died. So I said, Ruth, how do you keep your lipstick on your lips? Mine just goes everywhere. She said, this isn't lipstick, it's Sharpie. Sharpie pen, red lipstick, Sharpie pen. That was her big secret. The covenant has broken. She said, you can try darker with your eyebrows. Well, and I had one patch over my cataract surgery eye, so she applied it, and when I took the, I looked like Bela Lugosi. It didn't work for me, Ruth, but it did for her, this beautiful girl. And when I think of Ruth, when I got the news, all I think about are white gym socks and black shoes. And every time I think of never seeing those white socks with the black shoes under that chair at my new meeting with her, I just think, wow, I think I'm never going to see that again. But she was going to read this for me, so we both loved this. Meditation before Kaddish. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the streets beside you. And when you need me, put your arm around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So, when all that's left of me is love, give me away.
Okay, we're going to take one more. So, who's our lucky person? Sarah R. Hi, everybody. So, I've been sitting here listening to everybody share, and it occurred to me that one of the greatest gifts that we got from Ruth was the fact that she taught us this shared language. After Ruth passed, so Ruth was my sponsor for about 13 years.
And there was this huge void. You know, I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know who to call. I would normally call Ruth when Ruth isn't, you know, when something terrible in my life happens or something that I don't know how to deal with. And so I started reaching out to everybody in my community. And they started saying to me all the things that Ruth would have said to me. And, you know, there's not a corner of my life that Ruth didn't touch. She helped me to raise my children. She helped me to stay clean. She helped me to navigate every relationship I have or have had in the past 13 years. She is, even still, just kind of that she's bigger than life for me. She is, it's kind of like a limb is missing. There's this void. She was my safe space. She was my mother guru. It's funny, I started thinking about, I always thought Ruth would be here. I thought that it was just, I knew how old she was, but it never occurred to me that she would not be here. And I started thinking about it, and for me, and in my life with my recovery, my mom raised me until I was 18, and then Ruth kind of took over. And I think I've heard it from so many other people, but it's Ruth's voice that's in the back of my head. It's Ruth's voice I hear that's kind of going back and forth between the voice in my head that's grieving and really, really sad, and then Ruth will pop up out of nowhere, and it will start saying all the things I know she would say. And, you know, sometimes my kids are in the back, they're here too. My Ruth just adored my kids, and she cheered them on. Even, you know, we used to meet after promises every Wednesday, or I split Ruth with Joni every Wednesday. But she celebrated them, and sometimes my kids over the years, I thought I'd been kind of smart and had something important to say, and the truth is that mostly that's Ruth. I thought about whether or not it was an exaggeration to say that almost every important lesson I've learned that I reflect on the most, whether or not that came from Ruth. And I don't think it's unreasonable to say that that's true. She really was my mother figure. My story is the same as everybody else's story. Every time I process this with somebody else in my support network, my support groups, they start talking about how every time they go, and you know, they would go to like an aunt or maybe a cousin or a neighbor and say, this person Ruth had passed and how sad they were. Everybody that they knew would just kind of, oh, Ruth, oh no, without having known her. Because so many of us shared stories and lessons and Ruthisms about Ruth that people that didn't know her felt like they did. And I am so grateful and feel so blessed to be a part of a community that has that Ruthism language. Because I don't know who I would be. I really don't know who I would be without her. I am me because she was her. Thank you for putting this on. This was amazing. And thank you, Ruth. Okay.
He's electric. Thank you, everybody who shared your beautiful experiences and memories of Ruth, and please continue telling the stories, because this is how we're going to keep her alive. And she is that powerful, and she is still very much here with us. So please continue to share with everybody that you know about the experiences that you've had with her. We are almost finished. I do want to also let everyone know that if you have the ability to throw a couple dollars in the donation box to cover any cost to put the celebration together, that would be wonderful. And you know, that's really it as far as that goes. So the last person I want to introduce is somebody who is extra special, and she is the best storyteller and so kind and wise, and she drove real far to come be here, to see all of us, and to share our love of Ruth. So Tracy's gonna take us out tonight, and when she's finished though, we have a little gift for you. So don't run out when Tracy's finished, okay? Tracy.
I'm not going to be long, but I want you to do something for a moment, and that is to turn around and look at one another. Look at all the people in this room who are just some of the people whose lives were touched by Ruth, people who were influenced and shaped by Ruth, and some people who are who you are because Ruth Friscoe walked on this earth. So there's a lot of her in this room. And in my spiritual tradition, there's a saying about a seed. And it's something to the effect that a seed by itself is a seed. But when it dies and falls to the ground, it is multiplied 100-fold, 1,000-fold. And when somebody dies, their lives are magnified in a way as we suddenly realize that this is it. We got what we were going to get. And so we start sifting through our sorrow, trying to find those treasures, the things that we want to keep. And the beauty of all of this, the beauty of the Facebook page, Ruthisms, the beauty of listening to people talk here this evening, the people of hearing the stories outside when people are just gathering, is that we keep uncovering more and more treasures here. And Ruth is magnified. And she was already larger than life. She seemed to approach each day as though it were a treasure hunt. And here's the thing that always just absolutely baffles me. She was walking on the same earth that you and I walk on every day. She looked at the same things that you and I look at. She heard the same words that you and I hear. And yet, she saw stuff behind it, under it, through it. She found the treasure. She saw the beauty that was there. She saw the beauty in each of our faces. She heard the beauty that was behind the words and tucked deep beneath our hearts. She saw the beauty that was even in the broken bits and pieces of our lives. And when she saw that beauty, she was uncovering something that we could start to see was lovable and lovely. And even that would awaken something that was able to be loving. Can you imagine that multiplied 100-fold, 1,000-fold, a gazillion-fold? Whenever she and I would talk about something where we were putting out ideas and visions of what could be, she would stop and go, "Universe, are you listening?" And so I'm kind of hoping that, like right now, with all of us here, universe, are you listening? Are you listening to all of these stories? Are you listening to all of this beauty that is uncovered and seen behind the words, under behind the faces, underneath all of everything that is shared here, so that we can truly know that we are lovable and that we are lovely, and things are awakened in all of us that can help us be loving in a world that just is aching for that.
So every night at 6 p.m., we brought a different speaker in from all over the world. It became worldwide. 24,000 people have joined that Facebook group since last March. And last April 2020, we were blessed to support Ruth through all of her technology rackets and stories and everything else. And by golly, get her on there to tell her message and share her experience, strength, and hope. And just all the joy and the laughter and the silliness that is Ruth. So obviously, you know, some of the information is precious. And she is precious. And she had a lot to say. So I took it upon myself to edit this video down into a message to all of you directly from Ruth. So,
hi everybody. Is anybody here? Should I stop? A deep breath. My name is Ruth F. I'd like to thank you for giving me this chance to share my message with you. And here we go. I was born in Youngstown, Ohio. I was the third of 3 children. My mother was an artist. My father was a doctor. And my mother and father both loved music and played piano. My father worked his way through medical school playing piano and tenor sax. So my mother being an artist and my father being a musician and a doctor, I was disposed to the arts quite a bit and a lot of other really fine things as I was growing up. I spent a lot of time in my room studying, so I got to be a pretty good student. All 3 of us kids were in the arts and everything, so we spent a lot of time escaping the madness by practicing our particular instrument or dancing. I got started in dancing very early, and my sister and I would dance like crazy. I was a good girl. I was quiet. I kept to myself. My dad was definitely the head of the household. We were raised in a really nice family. We had a lot of nice opportunities. We used to have big bands would come into town, the Stan Kenton Band and Sauter Finnegan, and we'd go hear the big bands and then bring them home. We'd have corn on the cob, and we had 2 pianos in the living room. And we'd have jam sessions, and my sister and I would dance, and it was very fine indeed for me. But now I'm living this really fun life. I still like excitement. But it doesn't have to be crisis or traveling or something like that. And I took a little class, and it was a class on how to travel on a budget. And I really took to that. But I'm saying, okay, so I'm still addicted to excitement, so I think I'll travel. I'd pack a bag, get on the Greyhound bus, get a 30-day pass, nowhere special. Just get on and off that bus anytime I wanted to. And the trips would take me. One trip was all about roller coasters. I never knew. I mean, I had a 3-day process with this. I'm planning to tell you about the 3-day processes that I tend to get into. But I really realized this pattern with the travel. The first day I'm on the bus, I say, what was I thinking? The second day, it's like, boy, oh boy, you know, okay, it's all right and all that stuff. The thrilling stuff. And then by the 3rd day, I started having a really good time. And by the 4th day, the trip took me. And I would get into whatever this trip was going to be about. And one time it was all about roller coasters, and I just went all over the country riding roller coasters. This town didn't have an amusement park in it. Well, I would just stay at a Motel 6 and use the pool and be on my way in the morning. That was great fun. Okay, well, I did that. I did a lot of other stuff that was really, really fun. Like disco queen, dancing. I could tell you stories all night. I'll just quickly tell you, I had this dance school. I didn't think I was going to be able to make it as a divorced person. And, I had all this and the time was coming and everything. And I finally turned it over. I said, okay, God, I think I need this many, 30 students. And if I don't get that, then okay. Then I'll go and maybe I'll teach some muscle building lessons to tennis players or something. Unless you want me to. And then if I don't just say get the 30 students, then I'll take the answers. No, you can wait till the morning and do some other thing. So of course I got 32 students. And not only that, but Saturday Night Fever came out. Now, I couldn't. Saturday Night Fever, some of you people may not even know what that was. Way back in the 70s, where John Travolta, my dream, got the starring role as this disco dancer, and it came out, and I had a dance studio in a minute. Everybody wanted to learn how to do disco. And I have a lot of stories like that. Just a whole lot of stories. So it takes a lot of time to learn to trust the universe and to learn to trust people and to learn that I don't have to be all those things that I thought I had to be. And the truth is, we're good. We're the way we're supposed to be. We're meant to be, to learn how to align ourselves with nature and God and people, and not to take charge and decide what I need, even though I'm going to have to whatever. I don't know what I need. God doesn't expect me to not do some of the stuff. God knows I'm a human. Human beings do stuff. There's stuff you can just count on. You can count on to change their minds. And I've concluded that probably the most destructive defect I've ever had is to beat up on myself for being a human being. It's okay for me to be the way I am. I'm Ruth. I get wound up. I can be quiet for a little while. But I'm going to end up being a cheerleader. I'm who I am. And I cannot help hugging someone. We've got a real history of hugging. And I can't do that alone. I need you people. People were really nice to me and their eyes lit up when I walked into the room and stuff like that. I really loved it. And I would hear people quote me. People would quote me and they would say things like, now, oh God, Lord, that proves. Would you just take this for a minute? God, that proves it. Now just wait, we'll see. Ruth always says, keep coming back no matter what. So how cool is that? How is anything going to replace this best thing in my entire life? The thing that I look forward to, that is my best friend, that is the only thing that does it for me. I can summarize in one word, and the word is persist. You just persist, no matter what. And, celebrate. Go ahead. We're going to have to find something that works for both of us. That's why we've got to have friends. Higher power. Is this it?
Is this the place where I say no? And I thought, Then of course the answer came. How about that? It was just a matter of time. So I'm just assuming that it's time for me to go.